Hello again, TPN viewers. We are back for a second video in just 2 days after not posting anything for about 6 months because the news cycles were just crazy. It was really, really tough to sit down and take a topic and pick it apart when the next interesting topic was happening 6 hours later, 12 hours later. But today, we're dealing with another topic in a similar vein to what we dealt with yesterday, and that is typical right-wing misinformation, disinformation. The cycle is occurring again. The engine is churning. And we're here for a second video in 2 days because we have to be. So if you were to look at this person's Facebook page and you were just, we'll work from the bottom up. Pretend you didn't see anything. We'll work from the bottom up. This is Andy Kazmerzik's Facebook page. And you look and you see potentially an outdoorsman, father who loves a kid, pet owner who really loves a dog, perhaps a devoted father of 2 daughters, maybe an ugly sweater from Christmas, although that doesn't look super Christmassy, but maybe. Wearing a mask back in 2020. I know that photo is from 2020. Absolutely loves their dog. Another repost of their kids. Another repost of their kids. Seems happy. The kids seem happy. Seems to be an animal guy holding a bunny. A boat. A joke Christmas card, hookers and blow, save Christmas, more dogs, lots of dogs, lots of dogs. Oh, an Ilhan Omar post. Okay. And then perhaps a theater or a play, a little bit of memes over here, a restaurant, like a village town that they went to. And you just seem to see a fairly normal American guy, a dad who loves a pet and his kids. The kids seem happy. He seems happy. Some occasional memes, a coupon for the UPS store, and hanging out with the kids. Now the kids seem a little older and have some colored hair. More dog stuff. Absolutely loves the hell out of this dog named Laura. Watch. Pro police. A show named Loiter Squad that I've never heard of, but he says it's funny back here in 2022. Gets a gun, shoots a gun. Okay, a weird Trump art there. Him with the presidents saying presidents and donkey, mule, jackass, symbol of the Democratic Party, whichever way you want to do it. A political cartoon. And okay, so potentially a black girlfriend or wife. I stand with Ukraine, but okay, pro-Trump Uncle Sam. I stand with Ukraine, but fuck Joe Biden. And motorcycles and the girlfriend and the kids again. And the girlfriend has now disappeared, and we've got some reposts of old stuff. Potentially some new things, and then Turning Point USA with Trump and Turning Point USA, Erica Kirk and Trump, right before he made that crazy face, and then we are at the end of his timeline. So it just seems to be an average dude, and maybe electing his dog for political office. What you may not know is Andy/Anthony Kazmerzak is the person who squirted a liquid on Ilhan Omar during a town hall yesterday. This liquid now seems to be confirmed as being apple cider vinegar. Yesterday, when the news broke on this, there was no indication as to what the liquid would be, but apparently between him and the liquid, there was a foul smell. But he is the person who went ahead and decided to jump up in the middle of that meeting, squirt her with a liquid, get tackled, and she said, no, I'm used to people like this. I want to finish the meeting. And she stayed and he has been escorted off and has now been arrested for what he did. Immediately, the right-wing spin machine was out saying it looked staged. It looked Juicy Smollett all over again. And why wasn't a biological hazard protocol taken? Like, why did she stay and not get checked out? Why didn't they see what the liquid is? I don't know if it actually managed to hit her, but he tried, and then, oh boy, it seems a little screwy that the camera zooms in on him a little before the event happens, and he looks really fidgety. He actually looks drunk or high on something. He sort of looks like he's doing the physical version of making the sound of drink from the bottle, cap it. And then he jumps up and does that. He has a crazy ugly face as he's being carted off and everything. So MAGA believes it's staged. And to be honest, when you listen to their perspective on the video, it seems like they make valid points. There seems like there's maybe a little head nod from Ilhan Omar in his direction, and then that's when he jumps up and does it. But the point is, she was bobbing and weaving on her head for a few minutes before that anyway, as she was reading and speaking and looking to the left and to the right and nodding towards people in attendance. So she was already doing that kind of motion. Still seems like a little bit of a sus event, and I would agree with it. In a vacuum, I'd be like, something smelly this way comes. Something smells in Denmark. However, it got worse from there. MAGA went on a complete spin cyclone, a spin tirade, and tried to portray this guy as not being a Trumper. How did they do that? Well, they ignored pictures like this one from 2021. They ignored pictures like this one from 2021 where he says he just got on Nextdoor and wanted to get kicked off by making a trolling comment about Kamala Harris and potentially paid child actors, the Minneapolis City Council. They ignored that. And surprisingly, they didn't. This is what's amazing to me. They did not post him with the mask back during COVID, July of 2020. They didn't take that and be like, oh, that seems like a liberal cultist. Masks and COVID masks don't work. They didn't do that. And this seems like a give me. If you know MAGA and you know the rightoids and you know the Trumpers, this is easy bait right here for them. This is complete. This is the goat for the Tyrannosaurus Rex of Jurassic Park. And they didn't take it. But what they did do is they would grab a picture like this, where the person on the right seems to be getting maybe a little bit tomboyish. And then they grab the picture later on with the colored hair. These, one like that and one like that. They take pictures of what seems to be a happy father with happy kids. And they started saying, well, this guy has leftist kids, and one of them is trans, and they're just trying to say that vicariously up the family tree, not down the family tree, that he can't be a Trumper because he has these clearly liberal kids and everything. And they say, oh yeah, his wife is a big Democrat, like a raging Democrat donor and stuff like that. And they'll cherry pick those pictures, but they ignore this one, which is just September of 2025. This one, September 11th of 2025. They ignore that Trump one. They ignore this Trump one. They ignore the FJB potentially on a car. I'm not saying it's his, but he took a picture of a car back in 2022, and it says, I stand with Ukraine, but it also says, fuck Joe Biden. Or the similar one to it is, let's go Brandon. Like we all know about it. There's a Ukraine flag here. They ignore Uncle Sam pining away for Trump, like, oh, please give me Trump again. We had 175 gas. We had booming economies with no inflation. We had energy independence. And it's a whole other video to debunk all the lies and falsitudes of this particular photo. That's a video in and of itself, but they ignored that. They ignored this, that a Democrat is supposedly ignoring crime in Minnesota. They ignored this, which is, come on, if you know MAGA, you know how cultish they are. This is cultist art over here. Trump being in league with Ronald Reagan and George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt and Kennedy. Like, I never got Q's association that Trump would ever be hanging out with JFK, and JFK would not be within a mile of Donald Trump. But they try to make it that way. They don't talk about his pro law enforcement post over here. They pick and choose things like this and say, oh, he's lefty because his kids are clearly lefty. They're trans. They have colored liberal hair. And they ignore all the others. So they're trying to spin it that he is, in fact, not a Trumper, where it clearly states that he is. Was there a change? Was there a shift in philosophy? Who knows? But as far back as this man's Facebook goes, we can see that he has pro-right-wing, pro-Trump related rhetoric. I mean, the first one here, October 12th, 2021. Now, Lawfang over here posts this graphic, which actually comes from Kevin McFarland. This is the source of it. Kevin McFarland, with the Twitter handle of GOP chairperson, says, here is a good, complete glimpse into the life and radicalization of Anthony Kazmierczak, the man who rushed Ilhan Omar. From rarely posting anything political to physically attacking members of Congress in just a few years, another victim of the algorithm. So, here's the dive that he did. Divorce number 1, 2009. 2 DWIs about a year apart. Sued for $11.3K debt. Divorce number 2. Court filings said that he was unemployed and received $39K annual disability. No retirement account or plan. His Lexus was stolen. Had over $10K loan credit card debt to his name. Divorce number 2 is key because this article will come into play later in the video relating to this false information that MAGA is bandying around. Let's go back. Back to Kevin McFarland. First date with a black girlfriend. Race relevant later on. We will see why. It's about to get a little bit atrocious. But that is referencing to this period from here to about here. Positive interactions with this person. They were very happy. They even make this post. It's a graphic. It's not text. Falling in love with somebody you had no intentions of falling for is the most beautiful kind of love. So it seems like there was a very warm relationship between these two for some period of time. And based on this post and the smiles and these pictures and everything, I would say he was happy. It was maybe an unexpected relationship, but he was happy. Last new photo of his daughters on Facebook. One has since moved out. Another appears to be involuntarily committed. One calls themselves gender fluid on their Instagram, and other uses she, they pronouns. The MAGA is trying to say that this portion over here would imply that he is leftist because he has leftist daughters, totally forgetting about the fact that Elon Musk has a left-leaning daughter, that she cannot stand him and he hates her. The two are, quite public about their issues. The Conways, George Conway, Kellyanne Conway, and that poor daughter who you remember back about 5 years ago was saying she was abused and smacked around and she was scared. And everybody's like, go live with your dad. Kellyanne Conway is crazy. She's a shriveled up piece of bacon. And then they were like, we will handle this. We're going to work this out. Like Kellyanne was trying to counter her daughter's own narratives on social media, saying like, we're not going to bring this public. We're going to take care of it. This is not the case that whatever a child's leanings are supposed to go back up to the parents, or that there's supposed to be an equality between the two of them. My father is a little more centrist than me. He's very Democrat right now because of the things that have been happening. But he's admitted that he's had some stances in the past that are a little bit more Republican-esque for being fiscal and financial and everything. But he is a person who has essentially been radicalized away from the center and away from the right because of Trump and what he sees going on with the Republican Party. So rather than it radicalizing him into them, it has been an opposite magnet. It is pushed him, well, I should say a like magnet, North Pole, pushing him away from them because he cannot stand how gross they've become. And we share that together. I am a little bit more centrist compared to my girlfriend, but again, I have been pushed to the left because of the things that I see. So this is somebody who's going the other way. Perhaps at the time he was a bit more middle of the road, but something, as what Kevin is trying to say here, radicalized him to the right. Do we know what that event is? No. MAGA likes to think that it was because the black girlfriend broke up with him and this is a revenge tour. Okay, but it still means he's MAGA. It still means he's pro-Trump. We've seen it in the pictures. How he got there doesn't matter. He's pro-Trump. And going back to October of 2021, we can see that he has made right-wing political posts. Sued for $1,000 debt. Daughter involuntarily committed for mental illness, chemical dependency, somewhere between April and July 24. Answers questions on Quora, pushing election fraud conspiracies, expressing hatred for Democrats. Says he feels sick at the thought of Biden winning. Asks when the descendants of slaves will pay reparations to the descendants of Union soldiers for freeing them. This is why he said, race will be relevant later, sued again for over $1,000 of debt. Daughter's involuntary commitment extended. Creates a Twitter account named Andy's Right. First post criticizes Klobuchar. Tweets frustration about black people reproducing. More racist tweets calling black people bad stuff. I don't want to say that. Makes President Trump his Facebook profile picture. Makes Trump and Erica Kirk his profile picture. 1, 2. Tweets that black people are reverting to simians. Tweets of dismay at the lack of Somalis arrested by ICE. Little after Christmas, tweets that white people are genetically superior to blacks. Also tweets further dismay that black people are reproducing. Tweets about and justifies the Renee Good shooting. Russia's Ilhan Omar at the town hall event. Let's see if his Twitter still exists. Yes, it does. Does this line up with what's said? Watches United States Army Apache, Venezuela. Reposted Venezuelans. Thousands of Venezuelans. Oh, God, Dom Luker. That's it. Done. Tapping out. He's reposted Dom Luker. It's done. It is over at this point. If you're reposting Dom Luker, you are some form of a right-winger or a quidiot or a Trumper. Nobody of any intelligence and sense and morality and decency reposts Dom Luker. That's insane. So that is the first time I've looked up his Twitter on there, and I'm already done with it. So that is what Lalfang over here was posting. He, she, they took it from Kevin McFarland. Here are some of the pictures from his Facebook. Throwing this as a narrative counterpunch to MAGA, who thinks that he is not MAGA, when this is in his Facebook history, as we've seen. Turning Point USA, University of Minnesota, and him, they follow each other. And this one over here, MAGA's trying to say this is the two of them. He must have been leftist. Well, this is the ex-wife. And I want you to take note, Biden-Harris 2020. Black Lives Matter, happy wife, and everything like that. Newsweek has interviewed Patrice Benoit, the former ex-wife of Anthony/Andy. I was married briefly to Anthony and we divorced in March of 2017. Our relationship ended at that time nearly 9 years ago. I'm heartbroken to hear the attack on Ilhan Omar. Wish peace, strength, and healing to everybody affected, including her family and community and Anthony's family. 9 years ago. About almost to the month. We're talking a month or two shy of it. 2017. And yet MAGA is trying to say this is proof that he's a leftist. This guy, while being similar, and that's bad news for her, she moved over from Anthony/Andy to this guy as they look so similar, but that is not him. This guy is not this guy. It's a bit of a different facial structure. The hair, the beard is different. It is a similarity, and unless you were actively looking at it, you might assume that it's him, but you have contextual clues in the photo that this is a Biden 2020 frame over a picture, but they broke up in 2017. How could you have a 2020 likely Facebook profile ring, and in addition to your profile that Facebook does sometimes, how could you have this additional ring way back in 2017? And again, they're exes. They've been exes for almost 9 years. Perhaps it is him turning more and more towards MAGA that led to the divorce. We don't know. She didn't say it. But no matter what you see in that picture, that doesn't negate what we just saw on his Twitter. It doesn't negate this. It doesn't negate that. It doesn't negate FJB. It doesn't negate, the good old days. It doesn't negate that. It doesn't negate the Ilhan Omar one over here. His political posts show nothing about being a centrist or a leftist or a Democrat or anything like it. It shows that he is at the very least conservative and at the very most MAGA, pro-Trump. And what we just saw briefly on his Twitter, it certainly seems to back it up and gives heavy credence to what Kevin said here in this dive. I'm not going into Instagram. I don't want to look into his children. We've seen enough to shut the case on this. And if you want to do Mythbusters thing, you can say it is highly plausible that he is in fact a Trumper. Nothing about his kids mean anything about him. Whatever his kids decide to do in life in terms of their hair color, in terms of their body, in terms of their gender, in terms of their sexuality, their partner preferences, their political affiliation, none of that means that Andy/Anthony needs to abide by it and become that himself. I'm not going to slander this guy. I think at one point in time, it certainly seemed like he was quite a dad, a loving father. We don't see many partners in these pictures. We don't see the wife because the very first picture is 2018. By the ex-wife's admission, this is post-ex-wife. So he is alone at this point. He's probably sharing custody with kids, loves this dog, outdoorsman. He does not seem to be full of vitriol and hate and bile here. There's not a super lot of political stuff. And then we get to this one, and, it starts, but it's not overly aggressive. You're not seeing a lot of hate spewed here. And why all of the anti-black stuff when for at least a period of time, he had a black girlfriend and even has a picture of said girlfriend with a daughter. Let's find this person and see what she thinks about it. Let's interview her and be like, so you guys dated, but he's posted all this crap on Twitter and everything. How do you square with that? Like, what's the deal? Did he like make sly jokes all the time? And you're like, nope, that's it. I've had it. He's got a Ukrainian flag. He's got an Israeli flag over here. I really can't say this guy is evil or demonic or bad, at least with this stuff. At least what we see here in these pictures. But according to this and these tweets and the fact that we saw he's reposted Dom Luker, there's a little bit of a difference there. But don't believe the bullshit that this guy isn't pro-Trump and isn't MAGA. He clearly is, based on the pictures we saw on his Facebook and based on this timeline of his tweets and everything. Was he middle of the road at some point and radicalized? Yeah, possible. There was about a 2-year gap over here in information on him. There was some stuff in 22, like 2 pictures in 23, and then it kind of starts back up again in 24. Who knows? Somewhere in there, I think I had incurred or had ran into the knowledge that he had a car accident. I don't know if it was back here, which is what caused the disability. I don't know if it was here, and that's maybe why he wasn't on social media for a while. Maybe he just left society behind a little bit and sort of stewed in some kind of hatred for a little while. But he is not pro-Omar, not pro-Harris, not pro-Biden, and doesn't seem to be pro any Democrats. He is pro-Trump, and he is anti-Joe Biden and anti-Ilhan Omar and anti-Kamala Harris. I think that sums it up right there. Thanks for checking out this video, everybody. I will see you guys, I don't know when, but I couldn't stand to let 2 days worth of right-wing disinformation get out there. It's just crazy. See you, everybody.